Okay, why don't we get started and just kind of do some housekeeping and just to update everybody. We will be providing captions, and we also will be sending out a transcript of our presentation via email for people to follow through, those who signed up. My name is Paul Stisser. I'm a Director of Business Dev in North America, and also my colleague, Andrea Stenberg, who owns the product of WebReader and our product. So it's great to have him here on our presentation talking about our product.
Thanks, Paul. It's nice to be here.
Okay. So once again, we do want to make this as interactive as possible. But today we're really here to talk about accessibility, inclusion, and engagement, and using text-to-speech to enhance and improve that user experience. And as we talk about that, first, we always like to set the stage. Myself, specializing more in education, but most of that education is in websites. So we're really seeing the role of text-to-speech in websites. We do know that 1 out of 5 people either have a physical, visual, auditory, cognitive, neurological disability, and they're accessing content and information online, and it's difficult. And how do we enhance that experience to be more inclusive, to make it more accessible? The other component that we're seeing is that not everybody is the same. Imagine that, right? There's such a large and diverse market that people are missing out on by not building an accessibility for all model. And that's traditionally what ReadSpeaker is always talking about, of how we want to develop and share and work with organizations to meet the growing need of all users. And we're seeing that in today's market of how accessibility is starting to become more mainstream. People are starting to think about accessibility as being those products that people are using, whether they're disclosing their disability or their difference, or they're non-disclosing it. And we'll see this in places to where people are utilizing captions. People are utilizing different types of accessibility, what we always think are accessibility features. Now, in this slide, it kind of talks about the curb cut effect. And when we're looking at that curb cut, and who's utilizing that curb cut and different things. And if you look at the graphic, and we're sharing the graphic, we're talking about how the design, which was initially centered around a mobility differences or impairments, but how it was really more generalized and available for all. I will say, as a parent of 3 kids, I can't tell you how many times I used the curb cut when I was using and pushing the stroller, or when we're biking or doing different things. Being in education and educational sales, going to a ton of conferences. How many times have I used the automatic doors for the doors to open because I'm carrying luggage? Once again, no disability, no difference. But what I'm doing is I'm using those tools at some time when it comes to those accessibility features. There's a group of people that are going to need to use them all the time. However, it becomes a tool, an inclusive tool that people are using all the time. How many times are you use the ramp? And that ramp is always showcased, usually somewhere similar, but you're seeing people, I would say 99 out of 100 people are not people in a wheelchair that are utilizing the ramp. And it really symbolizes how inclusion and accessibility is utilized today by all people. It's not just for specific, it's really for all. So how can digital accessibility support those? Well, we know that there's an untapped market, that there's a large group of people, 1 on 5. There's studies out there about the number of end users or site visitors who are dyslexic or ADD. There's studies out there that 1 out of 5 are that alone. So when you get into low vision and low hearing, that population number just grows immensely. We know that sometimes customers are having a hard time navigating sites, and that could be because site's inaccessible. It could be because there's media overlays in there. There's all different aspects that go into that. And also, I think, and as more and more corporations are building that brand and that reputation, the idea that we need to be inclusive, it's better design. It's better practice when we sit there. And then, there's nothing that worries me more than when I'm talking with people and they're like, well, we're doing this for legal requirements. And we're checking a box. Often when people are doing that, often they're using media overlays that really aren't fixing issues. They're missing the point of the accessible design and how the user experience for all are utilizing it in different aspects of that. So just to share a little bit about ReadSpeaker. ReadSpeaker is we're a large company that provides some of the best text-to-speech that is out there. We've really been around since 1999. So we're not new kids on the block. And when we're creating content that is supporting all, really and across three different categories. One is about engagement and how to support the comprehension of content, supporting second language users, providing that universal design. But the population model grows even more from the engagement aspect to the accessibility component. And we've talked about this population a little bit today. 1 out of 5 have limited literacy skills, low vision, low hearing, learning different and or foreign language or second language individuals. But I will say the one thing that I do here in the education market, which is a website, is really how ReadSpeaker as a tool of convenience. And as text-to-speech is being made available to users, people are opting for it because, one, it's mobile friendly. It's easy to use on the go. We know that people are often multitasking. How many people are scrolling on their phone and watching TV? We're seeing that multitasking because our lives are so different. Our lives are so busy. Even this week when I was talking with organizations, they're like, how do you see us being utilized on our website different than just people who are learning different or low vision or low hearing? And I said, hands down, people are consuming content without looking at the screen. They're listening to that content. And if they can listen to it and walk the dog or while they're waiting for their kids at school, people are choosing this as a personal preference to consume content and learn about your site. And I think that is really some of the differentiating aspects of what text-to-speech, high quality text-to-speech can do to your site. Now, the other thing is, we talk about it improving the website experience as being more inclusive. So we're going to get into a demo, and I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Andreas. But when we think about the digital content, we really talk about speech enabling your site, enhancing that experience on there. ReadSpeaker, when we're online, we offer a listen to click. We're supporting over 50 languages with over 200 high quality voices that really sound natural. Because we control the entire chain of text to speech, we allow you to customize your pronunciation or your dictionary, which allows you to support complex terminology like acronyms, abbreviations, in complex terms that may not be read well. That's really important because we want that experience to be as accurate for somebody who could have a reading difference, or it could be somebody who is just reading, at the level. So we're seeing that. Also, when we get into the site, and Andreas will be showcasing some stuff, and we have some screenshots, always think about ReadSpeakers because we're highly customizable. We allow the skin or the player to be adjusted. We provide best practices for supportment, but also we really support that user statistics. It allows you to next day, okay, who's visiting our site? Oh, what are they listening to? And we can share that. We're also GDPR compliant. And I will say, it's not on the screen, and I will say, and I hear it from my many clients, our support team, from integration to ongoing support, is best in market. It really is. They do an amazing job of not only listening to you, but problem solving and supporting those things. So the image on the left, we're defining the Read Speaker Player button, the ability to fast forward or rewind, and then the different settings, and I know Andreas will go in. Once again, think about this player. It can be a stripped down version to where you just press, click, and listen, or it can actually get real down and offering translation, dictionary, and word lookup in those aspects. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the screen over to Andreas, and we can start asking or taking questions. But I know he wants to provide a overview of our functionality. Andreas?
Yes, thank you, Paul. Let me share my screen. I'm going to show you a product called Read Speaker Web Reader. It's our solution for reading websites, and I'm going to be using our a blog post from our own website, readspeaker.com, for this demo. And first off, I thought I'd talk about the UI elements, what the user sees and interacts with when they use Web Reader. And first of all, as Paul said, it's a one-click solution. So the first thing you as a user will see is the listen button. And when you click on it, it will start reading the web page that you're on using high-quality TTS. So let's go ahead and do that.
The Simplified Web Accessibility Guide.
So when the playback starts, the player expands and more buttons are visible. And the buttons are, well, for controlling the playback, play, pause, stop. You can jump back and forth in the audio stream. You can change the volume, the reading speed. And if you look at in the bottom right corner, there is a panel which we call the control panel. And the idea is that when you scroll the page, the control panel will stay in view so that you can have access to some of the audio controls even as the player disappears from the viewport. Another element of the user interface is the main menu. And from here, we have access to a number of tools. And I'm going to show you some of the tools. First of all, the settings. And these are the user settings. So anything that you change here will be stored in your browser. And so when you navigate between pages, or if you come back later or another day, your settings will still be there. The settings are divided up into different categories. The first one has settings that relate to text highlighting, which you saw when I started the playback. And you can, well, you can turn it on or you can turn it off. And you can also decide whether you want both words and sentences to be highlighted or just one of them. And you can choose which color combinations you want to use for the background and for the text. So if I change the colors a little bit, I can get a different result. And there's a live preview at the bottom so you can see what you're actually choosing or what it's going to look like. The next section is where you control whether automatic scrolling should be enabled or not, and whether the pop-up menu, which I'm going to show you in a second, whether it should be enabled or not, and if it's enabled, if it's supposed to close automatically or if it should not close until you click somewhere outside of the pop-up menu. And if you want it to close automatically, you can also set how many seconds it should wait before it closes. Now, WebReader is keyboard controllable. You can use the Tab key to navigate between buttons and UI elements. You can use the Enter key to activate a feature like this.
Enable keyboard short.
But there are some features that you can define your own keyboard shortcut for. So instead of having to tab all the way to a certain button, you can set a keyboard shortcut and that way get access to that feature faster. We have a preset for most of the features, and you can also go in here and clear or set your own keyboard shortcut. If you don't want the shortcut for some reason, maybe it's colliding with some other app that you're running, or you just think that it's more convenient to use another shortcut. It's fully customizable from here. Lastly, you can restore all the settings to their defaults, and you get an overview of which sections you have changed things inside and how many things or how many settings you have changed. So I'm going to go ahead and restore all the changes that I've made. The next feature is click and listen. If I activate it, I can now use the mouse or my input device to click on any section of text, and it will read that section automatically.
How can a website accommodate all of these users?
Enlarged text is an alternative to text highlighting in the page. It shows the text as subtitles at the bottom. And let me show you how that looks.
The Simplified Web Accessibility Guide. Understanding WebCat.
You can change the font size of the subtitles like this. Text mode opens up the page content in a text-oriented way. A lot of the styling on the page will be removed so that you can focus on the text content and the images. And while you're in text mode, and this goes for all the features that open up this dialog window, you can listen to the content. There's some volume and speed controls. You can change the font size of the content in the dialog window, and you can do some other things with it as well. You can change the font, for instance, or change the color combinations of the background and foreground colors, and add text spacing or spacing between letters and words and lines, so both horizontally and vertically, to make it easier to read. And if you go into the settings, as you can see that the changes I made in text mode are reflected in the settings as well. So you can make you can set your preferred color combinations and then have them always show up in the dialog window. sorry. Page Mask is a reading tool. It shades the screen and in order to bring out the content that you're currently focusing on. You can change the size of the focused area. Like this. If you want to download the audio and listen to it later or when you're on the go, you can use the download MP3 feature. Then there is the help section, which is basically the user manual, explains the different features and also shows you the keyboard shortcuts for the different tools. And I mentioned the pop-up menu before. If you select some text, the pop-up menu will appear. And from here you have different options or actions that you can take with the text that you selected. So if I, for instance, select a word here and click on dictionary, WebReader will look up the word in a dictionary and give you the definition of the word. And you can listen to the definition.
1. Organization. Noun. A.
And in the same way, if you select a sentence and click translate, you can translate the selected text into any of these languages. And WebReader will automatically switch to a voice in the target language. So now that I picked Swedish, because I'm Swedish, it should read with a Swedish voice.
Etiskt sett har du ett ansvar att ta emot så många användare som möjligt.
That's the translate feature. And I think the last thing I'm going to show you is just listen to selected text, which does exactly that. It will play the selected text.
The goal of digital accessibility is to provide a better experience for as many people.
And that's all I have right now. And I think, Paul, I'll leave it over to you.
Terrific. Thanks, Andreas. And I know our team is answering a question out there by Azim right now. So we'll do that. Let me get back to sharing our screen. So Andreas shared a lot of functionality there of what we can bring to your website. So basically what we're doing is we're going to just showcase a couple popular sites, the next couple slides of what we're doing and how we're enhancing other websites. So here's a couple screens. We talk about the quick, easy, and seamless integrations. I'll just give a quick use case. If you look at congress.gov, our website, there's always a lot of uproar over, hey, we're going to vote on this bill, and we don't have enough time to consume and actually sit down and read that. I always think it's interesting because if they would go to the site that it's hosted on, congress.gov, which it is, and they then put that into the ReadSpeaker web reader functionality and increase the reading rate, maybe to 1.5 or 2, to increase it, there would be a real quick and easy way of getting through it. So, if somebody in the press asks you, hey, did you read the bill? They might come back and say, well, I listened to the bill or I consumed the bill that way. So once again, real easy, I think interesting ways of how our functionality is supported in today. So if you look at the screen right here, you can see a customized player to fit the brand. Once again, you're addressing the your brand, your product, and then aligning that to fit into the ReadSpeaker feature. I always tell people in our education market, I can promise you you're using our products somewhere on your campus today because people are utilizing it and they're customizing it. Because ReadSpeaker also offers a very flexible placement and allows it to switch or language switching of the content and functionality there. So once again, we provide a multimodal, inclusive functionality, but most importantly, it just brings good design, brings great design to your product, your brand, and offering that functionality. Now, when we think about ReadSpeaker, kind of that overview, please realize that we are, as I kind of hinted at earlier, we are a global company. We have many different major initiatives going on from North America to Asia to Australia, and we're constantly enhancing and pioneering that text-to-speech. As an overview, we have over 10,000 clients. We're in 65 different countries. And these are just a few of the brands that are actually utilizing our text-to-speech today in the marketplace. So, I mean, very popular brands that you're seeing today. And then finally, there's a new market out there. And I always say it's like the websites of the 1990s. And that is your voice brand. And the ReadSpeaker has the voice brand. And what we're doing is we're creating customized text-to-speech voices for organizations to build out that brand. Some of the probably the most two popular that we've done is the Spotify car thing and the Sonos voice control. You can listen to that ReadSpeaker quality voice within there. The Sonos voice control, I think, is very interesting because we took a very popular actor, somebody who is in Star Wars Mandalorian and Breaking Bad, and he's done voiceover for video games. He's the voice of Sonos voice control. And what we've done is we've taken their brand, we've worked with them on a voice brand, and we've created that custom voice for them that is unique and solely for them to utilize. And that's really what we're all about today, is offering that unique brand when it comes to voice, whether it's a CEO of a company and is looking to create audio and save more time, or if it's a famous actor as a brand. We all know that people are using voice talent in different ways. Let's mirror that voice talent into a text-to-speech and deliver and offer it that way. And those are some things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and stop sharing my screen and see if there's any other questions that we can answer at this time. So it looks like our colleague Maurice has answered the question regarding that kind of a screen reading tool. I will say, once again, working in education, this is my use case. Often our web reader functionality that we're talking today, it isn't to replace a screen reader. Screen reader is more for navigation. We're enhancing the experience usually for individuals who don't have a screen reader, or they do have a screen reader. Sometimes the voices in a screen reader just aren't the greatest. They're a little bit old. And what ReadSpeaker does is it, once again, inclusive, that voice is available for all, and then we can support things that way. Any other questions? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything because I was presenting on a different screen. Does anybody have any questions about implementation? We had the privilege of having Andreas here today. Usually, he's in the dev shop and he's creating really cool stuff. So it's great to have him out doing the presentation today. Well, if there aren't any other questions, just once again, some housekeeping things. Our presentation will be emailed and shared with everyone. It will be captioned and pushed out, so everybody has a chance to review it once again. And if there isn't any other questions of anybody today, I would like to thank everybody for coming to today's presentation on web accessibility and inclusion and engagement with ReadSpeaker. And Andreas and myself would like to thank everybody for attending. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you.